Welcome to the Scale Forward podcast. Today, we're talking about building relationships and scaling growth in construction tech. I'm joined by Justin, the Director of Partnerships at ArcSite. ArcSite is the all-in-one drawing and takeoff solution, revolutionizing how contractors and field professionals work. Welcome, Justin.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for jumping on. Like any good story, can we start at the beginning? Justin, can you tell us about ArcSite in your own words? What does the company do? And if you know, what inspired the creation of ArcSite?
Yeah, I do. So I've been around since pretty early on in the startup. I'm employee, I think like 6 or 7. I don't even keep that much track. But our founder and CEO worked at a company who you all know. It's Autodesk. He was one of the lead product designer and engineers on the AutoCAD project. He worked there for a long time. Sort of wanted to create something that was easier to use, easier for pros to gain the benefits of, because CAD is in everything we do. It's in the car you drive, it's in these computers we're using, right? Those computer animated designs are everywhere. So being the founding block of everything like that, it has a ton of power, but not a lot of people have access to it. So our founder set out on a mission to create a CAD for everybody, a CAD that everybody could use. They could gain the benefits of all of the power and precision that something like that brings, but bring it to the average everyday human being who didn't go to school for it, who's not an engineer, who doesn't need years of experience to be able to gain benefits of a tool like it. So he sort of was working through while working, at Autodesk, and decided he wanted to make a mobile version, left there, worked on it for a few years, brought it to market around 2018 or so. Using the power of all the algorithms and things that make up CAD, it's able to do a full material takeoff, build anything that you draw into a list of parts and materials to create the thing, thus eliminating multiple steps of the process and streamlining things for contractors. So started, pretty early on with clients and, a few of us, and it sort of just grew and scaled beyond that.
That's really fascinating. Employee number 6. What initially attracted you to join ArcSite? And then also, can you expand, is every contractor able to use this, or are you only focused on specific niches?
Yeah, of course. So what first inspired me, I'll just tackle those in order. First inspired me to join was the tool itself was really cool, and it was something that wasn't being done. It was almost like a competitionless market. It was one of those things where I saw a million applications for it, but I didn't know anybody else doing it. So I did my research. I tried to figure out what like the market was for something like this, product market fit, total addressable market, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, it's massive. The construction market's in the billions and trillions of dollars. And it's one of those things where we didn't have a natural competitor. So when I started talking to both the founder and the VP of sales at the time, who was the one I was talking to before I came on board, they sort of shared their vision of the product with me, right? And I was very inspired to hear that it was like all about democratizing a tool like that to everybody, to enable people to do more with less, to help people scale and grow businesses, right? Even though it's a construction market, opposite of like a SaaS market, but they still want to grow. They still want to be successful. They want to be more efficient. They want to do more with less, right? And I saw the tool as a way to do that, came on board, pretty early on, just a few $100,000 of ARR, and tens of millions now. So it's one of those things where we've grown pretty quickly over the past few years. And then, yeah, the sort of second part of the question was about the address of people that we do help. And we do, I will say this very vaguely, if you draw in your work process, if you draw at any stage, whether it's pre-construction, construction, if you draw design, we can be a fit. We do have our core top ICP industries lined out for people that we assist in markets that we know we can help pretty much everybody in. But then we get a lot of unique use cases that come to us that we don't even know exist. And they'll come in and say, hey, I'm struggling with ABC. It looks like you guys do this. Can you help? And then we're like, maybe, probably, and that's kind of driven a lot of our innovation, a lot of our product development, a lot of our new features are driven by people coming to us saying, hey, I really could use the help doing this, and sort of going from there. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. We work in a lot of construction spaces now. Initially, it was made to democratize CAD everywhere. It wasn't initially created as a construction tool. It just sort of became one, sort of on its own. And it's been really fun to watch the evolution of it.
You mentioned something, though, that was very interesting to me, is you said it was kind of a no competitors, kind of a new market. You hadn't seen this before. Yep. Every startup faces challenges, and I think that's a challenge that when you see like, oh, no competitors, that to me can mean either two things. A, there's a reason there's no competitors because it doesn't work. Or B, you are new to the market and someone hasn't seen the gap in the market yet. Clearly, with ArcSite, it was that there was a need for it and nobody had done it yet. So being in a new market and creating a new category, I would say, Do you know how ArcSite, or how can you suggest that we navigate that as a new business?
Yeah. So for us, it was a lot of just being really open to discovery, being really honest with customers, figuring out exactly where that product market fit was, right? I joined in a couple in where we had a little bit of an idea of where people started to come in, but we have since expanded, multiple
Yep.
of our ICPs, people we sell into nowadays, we never even talked to when I started, so a lot of that is kind of going on there. Apologies for the little camera glitch there too, but it seems to happen from time to time today. But yeah, we sort of, the best advice I can give is be very curious. Like if anybody comes to you, don't prejudge what problem they have. Learn what problem they're solving. Figure out what problem your product is being hired for. So if you go all the way back to jobs theory, treating your product like a job, like they're hiring your product to complete something. Figure out what that is. It may not be what you think it is, and don't try to force a square peg into a round hole, and don't be so stuck to your personal convictions that you're not willing to say you're something that you maybe didn't envision personally. If you go to market saying I'm ABC and someone says I'm seeing great success using it for DEF, lean into that, figure out like why it's such a good fit, and then sort of roll with it, right? So product market fit can happen in a few ways. You can go in with a very clear vision, or it's something you can discover organically, or it can be a hybrid of both, right? So we were able to really just lean into what our customers were telling us that they were trying to solve, that what their main pain was, right? Because people only buy software or search for software for really three reasons, right? Either pain that they have, gain they think they can get, or fear of pain they're trying to prevent, right? So they're trying to figure out why this tool is going to help them with one of those three things in most cases. And I think a lot of us, our success was just being able and willing and malleable enough to listen to them and sort of steer our product that way, take the feedback they gave us and sort of work with it. Having a few flagship champion customers right off the bat helps. But at the end of the day, even to this day, our head of product, our head of growth, our CEO will even meet with clients and prospective clients to discuss things we're trying to solve, even now.
Yeah, you kind of answered my next question, which was, how do you get this feedback from your customers? Are you just, I mean, I guess it depends where they live. Are your customers on Twitter? Beehive's a really good example of that. If you follow them, you open Twitter and you can't not scroll and not see anything about Beehive. So how do we get initial feedback from customers?
Yeah, we love the customer interview. We try to get permission to record them so we can share it with the entire team. We don't share them externally, typically, unless we're asked to or there's a unique circumstance. But we've set up customer interviews at all times. Our head of product has kind of a unique policy. He has sort of an open door policy with a Calendly link where any of us can just share that to an interested customer if they have product feedback, and they can choose times that he just sort of has open office hours. So even though he works behind the scenes, so to speak, working on the product team, he wants to be engaged with those customers. He wants to work with the boots on the ground, so to speak, the people in the field, because at the end of the day, like I said, we drive our product discovery and things off of that feedback. So we obviously do surveys, we do NPS surveys, we have intercom messaging where we can message in-app, we do email stuff, just campaigns around getting feedback. We closely monitor socials as well as, Capterra, G2, all the software review sites to see what people are saying. And then we have a community. We have a large online community of ArcSite users through a platform where they can go in, and we have specific channels dedicated to product feedback and review. So they can go in there and say, I would really like XYZ. And some of those ideas are insane and they're not possible. And some of them are great, right? So you got to kind of weed through what you should do. Where does it fit in your roadmap? How does it fit the long-term vision for the company and the goals that the company has? And sort of piece those puzzle pieces together to give you the best picture possible. But yeah, at the end of the day, the feedback, just ask for it. You have no idea how excited people are to tell you what they want your product to do if they're already using it. They will tell you way more than you need to know.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll get those crazy ideas like, we just can't do that. But sometimes you'll be like, why can't we do that? And then you can innovate crazily. You mentioned product fit a little while ago, but I want to kind of build off that and talk about what you do, which is strategic relationships and partnerships in the tech space. So what role have you played in the overall growth, and when should a company hire a strategic growth partner?
Yeah, so partnerships are an interesting thing because I was an AE prior. I would just sell the product and stuff early on until we got to a stage where we saw the need for it. I would say partnerships can be very early in the process, depending on your product. So for us, we solve one problem really well. The sales estimate process, the takeoff thing, that whole process can be condensed. but we don't do a lot of CRM management, inventory management, ERP functionality. There's a lot of complementary software that people need to be able to make a business successful. Like I use the analogy of a 10-lane highway. That's what it takes to run a business. There's 10 lanes operating at the same time, all doing different stuff, and you're trying to get a big picture of it all. We have one really tight lane that we work in really well. So we need to work with people who can expand beyond that, right? So we need to find people who serve the same audiences, but for a different reason. Like, so if somebody is providing marketing services to our ICPs, if somebody is providing different software solutions to our ICPs, like financing partners, payment processing partners, there's a lot of partners. People use the word partner loosely nowadays, but people who are strategically wanting and willing to work with you on everything from drip campaigns to direct product push to webinars to creation of content. There's a lot of different ways of partnerships. I mean, me being a partner guy, I see the value in it all day. We try to generate north of 20% of all of our revenue from partnerships, from direct partnership referrals and things like that. I would say if you're at the spot where your sales funnel can manage itself and you're not trying to be everything to everybody, as soon as you can afford it, hire a partnership person because they pay for themselves easily. I, of course, say that selfishly being a partnership person, but the pure math behind what you can do with a partner expanding your reach versus direct reach, completely different. Like we partnered with Samsung Electronics. Everybody knows who that is. They actually talked about us on stage at their last Unpacked event where they unboxed their new phones and tablets. They dropped our name and talked about having our app on their devices now because we used to be iOS only. So like it can be a mass media partnership like that, or it can be a mom and pop shop in Waverly, Nebraska who pre-qualifies leads using satellite imagery. That's actually a real partner we have and they're great. So that's why I wanted to drop that in there.
Nice. Shout out.
Yeah.
So how do you identify a good partnership? How do you find, and then how do you prioritize who's the most valuable for ArcSite or for yourself to partner with?
I mean, I have a qualification metrics I use that sort of breaks down everything from like urgency to opportunity to willingness to work together to what they offer to what their customer base is, what their reach is, who they serve. So yet again, I'll go back to the customer feedback interviews. Tons of them come from there. We find out what our pros are using that they need to be using in addition to ArcSite, and we assume that other pros doing that same job, pretty safe assumption, will need to use something similar to be able to grow a business, right? So if 10 people in a row who we've talked to say, oh, I use ArcSite and XYZ for my CRM because it fills these other gaps, probably worth talking to that CRM because we're clearly filling a need they're not, and then they're filling a need we're not, right? So complementary service, tons of referrals back and forth, allows us to strategically land and expand within certain companies and or just recruit new logos altogether. We recently integrated with Service Titan, so Service Titan's filled that role nicely for us. Jobber, Job Nimbus, tons of construction tech companies we have one-to-one direct integrations with purely because we're a unique offering and none of them offer anything like us. So it makes sense for them to offer it to round out their offering, but it also gives us a massively expanded reach to all of those users. So yeah, it's kind of hard to know for sure. A lot of it's sort of a leap and just like strategic estimates using data. I would say just follow the data. The data usually helps. If you don't have a good data person, figure that out too. But yeah, data really helps companies of any size.
So I can imagine it's going to get pretty overwhelming pretty quickly. How do you manage and maintain all the existing partnerships to keep everybody you can't keep everybody happy. But how do you do the best you can?
Yeah, so what you'll learn early in partnerships is the struggles you have with keeping everybody happy are the same ones the other partnership people have. So, you guys are sort of like your own little brother sisterhood of partner people that all have the same struggles with volume and pipeline because, expanding a partnership team is something that companies try to get not do. It's just easier to add to frontline sales or easier to add to lead gen or something. Partnerships, they just assume you've built those relationships. They're hard to pass off. Not always the truth, just depends on it. But I have a really good strategic marketing partner on my team. Her name is Liz. She handles a lot of our partner enablement marketing. I worked with our director of marketing really closely on a ton of that sort of stuff. And then I try to get our AE team, especially our strategic or enterprise AEs, to form friendships or at least acquaintance relationships with the AEs of that partner company, right? Because that can take a lot of load off my plate because otherwise they're going to go through you for everything. They're going to say, oh, I need to talk to somebody at Service Titan. Can you set up a call? If they have that relationship, they can just text them and say, hey, and it makes my life a bit easier there. Try to have a normal cadence, keep things on the calendar, hold yourself accountable to making those meetings. Because if you just wait and you're just like, I'll check in with them in a few weeks, you won't. You'll get busy. You'll find something else to do. If you have a biweekly, every third Thursday, whatever your cadence is, check in with that partner, stick to it. Even if you don't have anything to cover, it's very easy to fall into the trap of, oh, we don't have any large hot button pressing issues this week. We'll just talk next week. That allows the relationship to just back burner. And then you're not front of mind. You're not thinking about each other in every sales call that you have. You're not figuring out where they can insert value or where you can refer a new customer to them, et cetera, right? And you'll find that the more value you give in the partnership role, the more you receive. You pretty much just pump them full of value until they can't help but regurgitate some of it back, right? So the more you give, they almost will start to feel guilty that like, oh shoot, he's giving me 30 leads. I've given him 4. Better figure out a few more I can send, and then you'll end up with some good stuff. It just sort of works that way. It's a lot of give and take in partnerships.
It's the law of reciprocity, if you've
Yeah,
got a resident
100%.
influence. Hey, Justin, communication is key in partnerships, and obviously very good at it. What are some of the strategies that have worked for you, and what did you do to get to this level of where you're at?
Sure. So the thing that I sort of fall back to when thinking about my success in partnerships, like the people who go into partnerships are very good at building relationships, typically, right? They have that strategic AE long-term play sort of mindset. They know they want to work with people, through people, and have people help them along their journey. That's just the way they operate. Very rarely is like a lone wolf mentality a good partnership person. So in saying that, I say that to point out the fact that because they're like you and with relationship building and they're good at communication, they can sense false or phony communication, or they can sense any sort of smoke blowing from a mile away. So you've got to be very open, honest, transparent, and clear with everybody in the partner world, because we can all read people well. Like literally that's our job half the time, is reading people's communication style, figuring out what they're after, figuring out how you can help them and how they can help you. That's literally what we're after. So because of that, I find it very important to be very candid and blunt and honest and just super transparent, as transparent as you can be. In 90% of cases, you'll have NDA signed and stuff anyways. So you don't have to worry too much about that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, the more just open and honest you are to them about what your pipeline looks like. I had a partner call earlier today where a guy said, hey, I'd really love to do this. And I pretty much said, we're not going to be able to do that this quarter. There's just no way. There's no pipeline for it. And he was like, I really appreciate that. Versus me saying, yeah, let me go back and talk to product. We'll see if we can squeeze it in. He's then got it on his roadmap and he's got to check back in. Now he knows he can use that time elsewhere. So it's one of those things where we appreciate blunt honesty in the partnership world. Even if it's not good news, we'd rather have an answer than just some ambiguity that we're trying to work through. So when I think to just plain interpersonal communication, just be very honest with people. That works for me, always has. Obviously, there's some stuff you can and can't say, always will be. But if you're a communicator by heart, which most people in partnership world are, you're communicating to a communicator, so it's usually fine. I stick with that methodology. I try to be almost too transparent because then they know they can be the same way back, and it just creates a circle of trust. And you do got to trust your partners straight up. Like you want to make sure you never do wrong by one, because that's just not okay. Honestly, like at the end of the day, like you guys are in something together. It's like you're fighting together in the trenches, right? You got to have each other's back both ways, because they're relying on you, you're relying on them. It needs to be a true partnership, and that's corny to say, but that's honestly how you be successful.
It is what it is. It's not that corny. It's just the truth, like you said.
Yeah, like I didn't know a better way to say it. I was about to say it. I'm like, this is gonna sound corny, but whatever.
It's whatever. Just say it. So, switching to sort of the scaling and sort of lessons from partnerships to scale. Site's currently at 10 billion ARR, did you say?
We're north of that now, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're not a public company, so I can't really disclose exact numbers, but
that's cool. Yep.
Mhm.
Obviously, lots of challenges along the way to scaling operations there.
Yeah.
So we've talked about finding good quality relationships, how to communicate with them. But what are some of the metrics that you guys track there in terms of partnerships for yourself? So basically, what I'm asking is, how do you know that a partnership is being successful?
Yeah, absolutely. That comes back to the data at the end of the day. Having correct attribution funnels where you know where stuff is coming through. Like we use HubSpot for our CRM for sales and marketing, right? Not a Salesforce company. A lot of people are. We tend to like HubSpot, so we stick with it. It works well for us, and we are able to attribute a lot of things to different campaigns, right? They now have association tags where you can associate deals into multiple pipelines, essentially. You can't have a deal live into, but you can absolutely associate them. So we use that data to be able to inform our decisions, right? So we track everything from, business qualified leads to marketing qualified leads to SQLs, which are sales qualified leads, and sort of up the funnel just to determine where they live, right? So we can track leading indicators like, website visits coming through those referral links and things, lagging indicators like that. And then we can also track things like actual SQLs and things converted, demo sat, close rate on partner deals. Close rate on partner deals is through the roof more effective than normal like cold outreach and or our typical inbound lead, because they're a lot warmer. They've come to us for a reason. They've heard about us. People have sang our praises. They come in sort of expecting to see something good versus being just purely blindly curious. So we're able to close those at a much higher rate. Our partnership deals can close around 70% of the time, which is nice because it's honestly the sales team loves when they come in. It makes them happy. They're going to. So those metrics all feed back. We've had partners in the past, trust me, not everything I've done has worked. Not everything I've done has even come close to work. We've had a few where we spent time and energy because one larger customer was like, we really need this integration. Spent a lot of time and energy and money on it. And I think to this day, we have 0 people using it because that person stopped using the integration for whatever reason. So yeah, we literally have done ones that haven't done anything. They just haven't worked at all. But at the end of the day, it's law of averages there. You get 80% of them to work as long as you're informed. And you don't really bend to the pressure of things that might not work. You got to be sort of just daring and risk taking a little bit. You can't fall into that analysis paralysis of that data where you're saying, hey, it says this, but let's get more data to make sure it says that, because you'll be sitting there all day. So yeah, we just try to follow the data and listen to our customers. And yeah, SQLs are the biggest thing for us. Sales qualified leads, what comes from that partner, how many of them sit, go from there.
It's funny you said my very next question was not every initiative or everything that we have plans out or works. You literally said that. So from that, why do you think it didn't work? And currently, even still now, is there some strategies that aren't performing as well as others? And what are you learning from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, as we sit today, email campaigns are underperforming compared to history, right? Especially when they're coming from a partner about a partner.
Why do you think that is?
I think they're numb to them because if you are a customer of a software provider, that software provider is probably sending you a bunch of emails anyways. And if you are not having or experiencing any problems, you're going to graze right past them. Right? HubSpot sends me emails all the time. Do I read them? Nope, never. Like, honestly, probably never. But at the end of the day, if I was having issues or wanting to learn something, then I might. So when you're using email to talk about partners, that's a little different. I find the mixed media content nowadays is a lot better. Whether it's a webinar, a blog post, showing up at one of their events, doing something co-branded where you're sponsoring something, that pays way more dividends today than the traditional email or drip marketing funnels. If you can get, like, obviously your partner to have ArcSite referrals, just using a very lame direct term, as a goal, as an OKR or a KPI for them, brilliant. Rarely will you get that. Those other companies are not going to put one of their OKRs as a referral to somebody else. But once in a while you will. People will be like, yeah, I would love to do that because we're trying to grow our app marketplace and it's important to us to get people to use integrated solutions, right? So then if you can identify that, great. But the best stuff we have is the co-branded content creation. People live on social nowadays. People live on YouTube. They love 10 to 30 second tidbits where you can just chop a video up. A lot of AI tools we use to just chop videos up nowadays into like small bite-sized things that you can just chuck into, the recently deceased and revived TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or wherever you want to put them. I guess, well, recently deceased here, yeah. Yeah, you still got it. You're lucky. But yeah, we can still use it if we have it. We just can't download it. But yeah, it's one of those weird things where the content lives. You just got to go where the eyeballs are. And our audience is construction pros. They're not big LinkedIn people. So we do more stuff on Facebook. They live on Facebook. They live on LinkedIn. So you just got to know your audience and go where they are.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It takes a lot of testing as well, right? Like, I'm sure it took quite a while to figure out that
a lot of A/B testing.
Yep. It's interesting that email's not working, though. Obviously, you read a blog online and everyone's still saying that email's the #1 ROI. You've seen the stats. You get like 36.
It's the ROI because it's cheap. It's cheap and easy. You send 1 billion emails, for fractions of the dollar that it takes to call somebody. Conversion rate, where it's lagging, the conversion rate's just way down on it. You can still achieve it. Like, we probably still get more stuff through web leads, through email stuff. But when you're talking about percentages of stuff landing, back when I got into sales, if you could get, a 6, 7% open convert or actual conversion
Yeah.
rate, good email stuff. Nowadays, it's the fraction of a single percent in some cases because the audience is just so numb to it. During COVID and during most of the pandemic, email was just way overused because that's all the way people could get to people. So it was just insane. I mean, to this day, I probably get 60 or 80 BDR, SDR type outreaches to me directly a day. Do I
Yeah.
read most of them? Only if they're clever, I
Absolutely
guess.
not.
But when my early days of, leading teams, early days of director titles, things like that, I actually made it a goal once upon a time to respond to every email, just even to provide feedback. Just saying, like, loved your email, not a fit. Hey, didn't like your email, here's why. And then I just stopped doing that because it was impossible. So I could probably
Well,
use
now
AI to,
yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you can build an AI agent now if you want to get back into that, Justin.
but I still have some value in the human handshake and the human element. Like,
There.
you can tell a content
Oh,
creator with AI. You can
yeah.
tell. Like, using AI is
Yeah.
great. You should, but there's still some stuff where you don't want to go 100% into that without any element because anyone can do that. It takes the rust a lot of everything. So if you
Yeah,
keep yourself,
absolutely. But I think I think we're going to end up to a point where if you've got an AI agent and I've got an AI agent, it's just our AI agents communicating to each other, and
yep,
then
and then
it's like,
sending us a
well,
recap later.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then we just come in. So anyways. So is that where ArcSite is leaning towards their scale for in terms of marketing? That they're going towards visual content, blogs. Are they steering away from email, sort of the more old school
I
grandfathered
wouldn't say we
traditionals?
steer away from it. I mean, we stick with the traditionals because people still live there, right? And we do want to meet people where they are. But as far as pure bang for your buck in this industry nowadays, the mixed media stuff seems to be much more effective. We have advantages of working through a lot of those partners, doing in-app and in-product marketing, people who are using it every day. We can target certain personas. There's a lot of stuff like that that works really, really well. But yeah, content creation is what people tend to consume, and they like to consume it at all hours of the day. If you do have to target the timing for things, especially emails, there are times people open their emails better and convert better on things like that when you send them on certain days than others. And all that depends on your audience. For us, Friday afternoons, people read and reply to a ton of emails for whatever reason. No clue.
Yeah.
Most industries totally backwards. So for us, it works. I think people are in their office day Friday in the construction world, or they're winding down and not wanting to be in the field, so they're checking their email. So that way they're still being productive. I don't know what it is, but it works, and we're able to
Yep.
identify that during the data, right? But yeah, content is sort of the main thing. SEO is something people massively overlook. We're pretty good at it, I think. It seems to work well for us, but we publish a lot of just back end stuff, a lot of backlink work, and things like that to make sure that our site is found and found the right way, that our trust rating is high, that we're not flagged on anything. Obviously, you have to, whoever your marketing agency is, or if you have an internal team, we have an internal team, but if you have an external team in any way, obviously you want to know what to inspect there, but your job isn't to do it. So make sure that
Mm.
they're keeping everything up to date, security certificates active, basic stuff like that. But there's so much that keyword research you can do. You don't just want to create a landing page just packed with just keywords. You'll go to people's website and you'll see also on the bottom also does, and it's just literal keywords. And you're like, all right, none of that. So that doesn't work. Google knows better. The recent changes to the algorithm and things like that.
Google's being a savage at the moment.
They're very much making it hard on our marketers. But honestly, it's probably to weed out the bad ones. It's probably going to allow the cream to rise to the top anytime Google does something like this. So every
Usually,
time they
yeah.
go, yeah, they switch it out. And if they're just like, hey, if you want to do it right, follow our rules. And like Google tells you what they want. They don't hide it. They tell you how to have good SEO. They tell you what they want in your website and how to trust it. You just got to follow their rules because Google is the world's largest, ad agency at this point. All their billions of dollars of revenue are coming from ads, and they want their people to find your website. And you want you to sponsor ads. They want you to do pay-per-click campaigns. They want you to do all sorts of stuff. And you just have to follow their rules to get there. And that's where 90+% of people go to search for stuff. So if you're not playing well by Google's rules in the SEO world, you're not even playing the
Yeah.
game.
I mean, they literally tell you what they want on their Google.
They do. They'll tell you
month that they
exactly
publish. They
what they care
literally
about.
tell you what they want. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they want you
they
to be
actually
successful.
yeah, they
Sure.
say we don't care if you use AI as long as it's helpful, but But the double-edged sword to that is if you're just purely using AI content, it's not very helpful because AI doesn't create new content. It's just a text generator for
Yep.
for those who aren't aware. So yes, you can use AI like you said, but use it as the
Mhm.
80/20, right? So like if you want
Yep.
to publish a blog on, I don't know, how to build a brick wall, use the AI for the 80% of that, and then come in and be the expert and learn how to really do it and all those sorts of things. So let's I just want to circle back just before we sort of lean towards the close here. And so what's been the most valuable partnerships to you, and what partnerships are you looking to build and to grow for 25 and beyond?
Yeah, so the few buckets that have been probably the most valuable to us are going to be those other software partnerships. And then for us, a really good one has been measuring devices, oddly enough, because it's not something we do. You know, we don't measure, we draw. But people are always using Bosch lasers, Leica lasers, Moser measuring devices, things like that. And having partnerships with them and cross referral systems has been great. Well, they're going to come to people all the time and say, hey, I use your thing to get measurements, but what do I do to get a takeoff off of it? Whatever. I mean, we get tons of referrals from those. It's also different when you talk SMB versus enterprise because the partnerships that work in both spaces are markedly different, at least for us. Because if you have like a QuickBooks integration, like we have, been fantastic for us because all SMBs, like 90+% of them, are using QuickBooks for their books, right? They don't have full blown out ERP systems. They're not using Sage. They're not using all these different things. So if you partner up with things everybody else are using are great as far as a software provider goes. A couple other ones are just kind of smaller companies. We've got a couple really effective partnerships that are like a two-person consultancy firm that happens to consult in one of our top 6 verticals, and they're very good at it. They're able to refer a ton of business to us where they actually outpace referrals from like a Service Titan. So it's one of those things where Service Titan will send over more enterprise clients who are looking for a solution like ours because they have a huge team and they need one thing. I liken it to like the spork. You familiar with the spork? It's like a spoon fork
Yeah,
hybrid.
yeah.
You only have one tool and you need to eat soup and a salad. A spork is fine. But as you grow and you're able to afford 2 tools, you'd rather have a spoon and a fork. So when people start to move up in the business, they'll learn that they can have a totally separate drawing tool and it's because it's infinitely better than the ones that come with anything else. So we get a lot of referral stuff from there from growing customers who tend to be our best customers because we sell by the license. So they come in, they grow, the bigger they get, the better for everybody. Better for them. They're happy that they're growing and we're helping. And then we obviously get more ArcSite licenses because they grow. So we base our scaling model around that. Manufacturers are another really, really good one because they're always looking for a way for people to sell their stuff faster, better, and more accurately. They will get dozens, manufacturers and distributors. Let me lump them together. Distributor will get a contractor from Kansas call and say, hey, I need to sell this. I don't know what goes into it. Help me do a takeoff. That eats a bunch of that distributor's time, but they're going to do it because then that means a sale of product, right? So at the end of the day, if you can equip them to just say, oh, by the way, we have a partnership with this really cool tool. It's got all of our products and literature and everything already built into it. All you need to do is turn it on and use the thing. Then you're in great shape. So if you have built those partnerships strategically with people who can both cut down your work, like us setting up a client's account, right? Didn't mean to pop that thumbs up on there. You go through and if you can cut down work on both ends, makes you happier, your client happier, and your partner happier. It's kind of the trifecta. So yeah, those ones are the kind of the big 3. The consultants, the other software providers, and the distributors, manufacturers have kind of been my effort. Franchisors are great too. I work with them, and then the sales teams work with the franchisees. So that's been a nice kind of add-on 4th one that's sort of shown a lot of value to us lately.
Nice. Okay, Justin, I want to ask one last thing that I think you'd be really good at shedding some light on. What is one thing you see most people get wrong when it comes to building partnerships?
Most people think about what value they're going to receive. They're going to think about, hey, if we partner with this massive company, they have all these clients, and they're going to be a great lead funnel for us, right? But they don't think about what they're going to give in return. If you don't give something to the massive companies of the world, take Salesforce, for example. We do have a Salesforce one-to-one integration. I don't consider them a partner, so to speak, because they don't know we exist probably. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out like where the reciprocal piece is going to be. Like, am I going to be able to add value there so that way I can get value in return? That has to come from a customer need. You have to determine, hey, the customer needs both of us because of this in all or most instances. So people will come into it and say, I want to go after the biggest other software companies in our market, right? I'm going to go after the SAP Globals. I'm going to go after these ERP systems. If you don't have anything to offer those partners, they're not going to be a great partner. Yes, they will probably work with you in most cases, maybe if you can even get their ear to begin with, but they're not going to give you much. They're just, why would they? Why would they spend their time there if you're not able to give them much in return? So you've almost got to think of it different of like, how does your tool or your solution add value to what they're already doing? And then think about the step of, if I add value to them, what am I going to get in return? So new partner people will go out and say, I need integrations with XYZ and I need to work with these. Like I'm going to go into decking. I need Trex as a partner. If you're not doing anything for Trex, why would they care to spend time with you? At the end of the day. So you've got to figure out your value that you add and like why work with your company and start there. People start backwards, in my opinion, because they're worried about what's going to come in and not thinking about how they're going to help it come in and how they're going to build that relationship. Like I said, relationship, communication. If you don't have a way to build one and you're not adding them any value, that relationship's never going to flourish. It's just going to be there on paper and generate you nothing.
And do you lead with that? Is that how you open your conversation? It's like, hey, here's what I think we could do for you. And then is that how you lead that?
In some cases, yeah. It depends who it is. But in most cases...
sorry to cut you off, but you also said you're just brutally honest. It's like, hey, I think we should work together. Here's why. And then you offer the value add.
Now, the brutally honest is usually phase 2 or 3 for me. I make sure that there's a common interest there first, but because not everybody's okay with that brutal honesty. You've got to earn people's trust and you've got to make them know you're genuine first before you can just go in there and be like, you need to work with me because I'm going to do this. They're just going to think that you're just a salesman, right? And partnerships, while they are salesy, have a distinctly different feel. So I do lead with that a lot of the time. I say, hey, I wanted to talk to you because pros using your products are struggling with XYZ. Here's how we solve that, right? Like large distributor, go to them and say, hey, people are coming to us because they're looking for a better way to sell stuff. And we found out they're buying everything from you. I think that there's a great way we could work together on a project to both enable you to sell more product, for your pros to have a better time, and to remove, and for us to actually like work better with those customers. I don't ever say like sell to more customers, things like that. And for us to be better prepared to serve those customers. Language like that, because they're already their customer. They care about them. They do, contrary to people's popular belief. Most companies do care about their customer base, at least in my experience. And if you're able to really paint the picture of how you're going to help that customer and how you're going to go through and make their life easier in the process, why wouldn't they work with you? So yeah, it's all about what you're going to add. Why, like for me, it's why ArcSite. Like, why is ArcSite going to help you? If it's not, I shouldn't be knocking on your door. So if I can think that and pitch it out that way, it works most of the time.
I think that's a great way to end the podcast. So, well, Justin, that was great. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on and experience in terms of building partnerships. I think it's I think a lot of people get some value from this for sure, and ArcSite's journey. Where can listeners go to connect with you if they are interested in a partnership with ArcSite? And where's the best way to get in contact?
Yeah, I mean, just like anywhere, arcsite.com is probably your best place. We have arcsite.com/partner page where you can go and you can apply to be a partner. You can view all of our other partners, things like that. I try to remain open door policy. My email is just justin@arcsite.com. Like I said, early, first name only. It's nice. And then, just any of our socials. Our socials are monitored in real time all the time. So if you go to any of our Facebook page, our LinkedIn, so anything, and you post comments or you chat with us, we'll respond. We have a chat bot right on the website. Yet again, it's an AI bot to start, and then it funnels you to a person just like everybody. But yeah, anything like that works. I mean, we're pretty easy to find. That's also a big key in partnerships, is be accessible. Answer phone calls. If people knock on your door, open it. Just be curious. So I have that policy all the time, and people will reach out constantly, and some won't fit, some will. But at the end of the day, easy to find me.
I'll link everything down below as well. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Scale Forward podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again, Justin.
Hey, pleasure. Thank you.